Never not annoying.
Load!
Thanks.
Load!
This is the December Loot Crate, which is not technically late because we've had a spread out Christmas,
Yeah.
so for us it's still Christmas.
We've had about a month of Christmas.
It's a big Loot Crate.
It's a big loot crate.
As befits Christmas.
Let's unclose the loot crate. Ooh. Ooh. So, I think it's Assassin's Creed themed.
Something about that suggests you may be right.
So we have, first thing out the box is one of the Assassin's Creed guys in a Funko Pop vinyl thing.
Well, it was only a matter of time after we kept on going, at least this month isn't a Funko Pop figure, before we got one.
I don't like them.
They're just not very expressive or detailed or interesting on the face, which, like, they put tons of effort into. I mean, the whole texture and look of that is actually really quite nice.
There's so much detail on the figurine, but not in the face, which is like 70% of the figurine's mass.
Yeah, the paint job also isn't as good as the Q-figs that we've had out of the past ones, I have to say.
This is Harley. She has an expression on her face. There's so much movement and expression within this figurine, and there's probably about...
Look, there's movement. You can turn his head all the way around, so he looks backwards. That's a useful feature. I'm sure we can find someone who is happy to take this
I
off
know
our hands.
several people who collect them. This is Aguila. I know very little about Assassin's Creed as a series. You can have this Aguila who's crouching, Aguila who's standing up, Maria, Ojeda, or Callum Lynch, who I'm imagining is probably someone to do with Desmond, because he's wearing some sort of medical-looking uniform. Unless
for the film they renamed him Callum because Desmond was
dumb name.
was too dull a name.
Sorry to any Desmonds out there, but you know it's true. Aguila is not from one of the other games. He is from the film. He's played by Michael Fassbender in the film.
15th century Spain. So it does sound as though they've completely thrown out adapting any of these specific games and just gone for the general principle, but with 15th century Spain and a different guy. I don't know if it's meant to be just literally another chapter. Like, presumably they have to make it a jumping on point for people who haven't played all of the games. But it seems to be just another chapter in the franchise, which is an interesting way of doing it. I don't think I've seen a lot of that before. Where a franchise makes the jump from something else to movies, but it's just like, and here is another part of the plot. Presumably there'll be some recapping of the underlying mythology. Maybe that's where they're going to eventually go into all of this interesting mythology that they set up. That would be interesting to see, although I have heard it's not a very good movie. So I don't think either of us will be bothering to see it.
Certainly not while it's in cinemas. Maybe when it appears on Netflix in like 2 months' time. So, let's move on to the next item, which, unfortunately, this is another thing for something that we haven't watched yet, that I want to watch, but just haven't gotten around to, which is Mr. Robot. Again, a really cool looking t-shirt. I think even if you haven't watched Mr. Robot, there's still a lot of people who I think would appreciate an Anonymous Mask-esque figure. Another good quality t-shirt from Loot Crate. Like, it feels like a nice t-shirt. I've said in the past I'm not too keen on like the really big vinyl print type things that they do on t-shirts, but this one looks like it's not gonna crack too easily, and even if it does in this one, I think it would actually add to the look of the t-shirt, so...
Yeah, I think I'll probably give a pass on it, even if I do decide I really love Mr. Robot when we watch it, just because it's a bit of a creepy face.
Yeah, it is a bit creepy. This box seems to be, if not anti-heroes, then rebellion, possibly. I'm sensing the theme.
I'm interested to see what the theme was, because the list of stuff didn't really seem to make a huge... The list of things to look forward to in December on the last one didn't really seem to have a common theme.
The last one is the reason the box is so big. And I think you'll probably get more use out of this than I will. Oh no, it's not the last thing.
It's not the last one. There's
a couple of other things underneath it. But it was so big I couldn't see anything underneath it. It took up the entirety of the box. Again, this is a full book, which we loved last time. We got a full book from Loot Crate. It's called Figure Fantasy, the Pop Culture Photography of Daniel Picard. I have heard of Daniel Picard in the past, and what he does is he takes sort of pop culture figures and fictional characters and photographs them in everyday real life settings.
Figure Fantasy is all about taking specifically action figures and compositing photos in order to make them look as though they're in the everyday landscapes, which is actually really cool. I'd really like to see some of the behind the scenes stuff from these, because it's not just as simple as photographing the thing and then photographing the backdrop. You've got to make sure they're posed right, and I imagine a lot of work goes into recreating appropriate lighting with the physical model so that it actually fits when you put it into context.
And yeah, I'm happy to have a book of those photos, if nothing other than just because they're cool.
That's pretty cool.
The one, oh yeah.
The gentleman from Hush, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, walking some puppies. I love it.
Getting a full book is kind of really novel to me. Like, I was not expecting to get...
Novel. But,
intentional. It's not something I was expecting when we signed up for the Loot Crate service. I was expecting more in the way of t-shirts and vinyl figures and gizmos and things to sit on the shelf and gather dust, instead of an actual book that could be used for references for things and looking at things. And yeah, the reason I said I thought you'd get more use out of it than me is obviously because you have more of an interest in photography, but also because the picture on the front is a Star Wars picture, so I presumed it was all going to be like that.
To be fair, it seems at this point like every other one is either Star Wars or the Joker. Lots of DC Comics characters, Star Wars characters, G.I. Joe, a bit of StarCraft and other random stuff stuck there, but like very specific ones. I don't know if that's because he has to get legal rights to use the characters, so he's only got access to certain things.
This is a Loot Crate exclusive, unfortunately, but I think you can probably get it from the Loot Crate website if you look for it, maybe.
Well, also the Loot Crate version of the Supervillains book was just a smaller, more compact version, so it may be that there is
a bigger version,
an almost identical but larger or thicker or in some way different version of Figure Fantasy for non-Loot Craters. I'm
going to say the theme is definitely Rebellion for this month's box, because we've got Assassin's Creed thing. The pin is also an Assassin's Creed pin. I don't know what it unlocks, but we'll find that out later. It also says Revolution. It's the Assassin's Creed logo. It looks very nice.
Yeah, it does look very shiny. Like the last one, the Elder Scrolls Online one, and this one I think actually look just more like actual cool items of jewellery / accessory to stick on things. I quite like this design, but this will also probably end up going to someone else just because I know some people who would really like this.
The thing that made me think that it was Rebellion or Revolution is this, which is a Firefly thing, which I'm surprised they put in the regular Loot Crate, because there is a specific Firefly Loot Crate subscription where you get Firefly related things. I think it's every other month or something.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're trying to persuade people
yeah,
to...
it could be very much. This is a patch to go on a jacket or any piece of fabric for the Independents, being the people who were having the revolution and who weren't the Alliance.
It does say it was created using original artwork files from the TV series and has been signed off by the graphic designer from the series.
Okay.
So clearly it is something that's worn by someone at some point.
On a sort of a slightly tangential note, I love that there is a Firefly subscription box. I can fully understand why there is. I want more TV show specific subscription boxes for TV shows that did not run long enough and that people are angry about. What I'm saying is I want a Pushing Daisies subscription box.
Pushing
the
Daisies,
amazing
please.
Pie of the Month Club. Yes.
Pie of the Month. That would. Oh man, that would be awesome.
And this is the magazine.
And the theme is
indeed
indeed Revolution.
And there's a brief thing about the history of Firefly and the Unification War, including explaining the mentality of Malcolm Reynolds, which I'm surprised that only has a page and a half. A thing about Mr. Robot and a short history of computer hacking.
That's quite interesting.
And a codebreaker puzzle, if you want to do a codebreaker puzzle. And some important dates for January. One of which is Ellen Ripley's birthday on the 7th.
One of which is Dean Winchester's birthday, more importantly.
I mean, Are you counting from the time he was actually born, or from one of the many, many times he came back from the dead? Because I think that's also technically a birthday.
Yeah.
Like, if I had come back from the dead, I would want to celebrate that day as well.
But yeah, they name-checked Emerald City, Underworld Blood Wars, Monster Trucks, also Triple X Return of Xander Cage, but generally speaking, I'm sensing a sort of vampires and zombies and magical related thing, so it's probably going to be something along those lines for the January crates. I look forward to it.
Back from the Dead, maybe, could also be the theme.
Could be.
Survival.
Yeah.
That seems to be the theme from all of them, is people who you thought were dead but really weren't, apart from Monster Trucks. There's also 2 entries for Resident Evil, because there's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard coming out on the 24th, and then Resident Evil The Final Chapter in cinemas, which, I mean, there's a new Resident Evil game, so that's good.
Yeah. So is that actually called Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, or are they just dual titling it with the Japanese and English versions of the names now? Like, is it Resident Evil / Biohazard number 7, or is it Resident Evil, also known as Biohazard, number 7 Biohazard? These are important questions that must be answered.
All in all, unfortunately, this was a theme that we didn't have a lot of relevant interest for.
This is probably the crate I've been the least excited by. It doesn't necessarily actually mean it's going to be the one I will get the least use out of.
I'm sure there are people out there for whom that is an exact collection of everything they like.
But now it's after December, so they can't have it!
Obviously, the Assassin's Creed movie coming out, and therefore more stuff to do with Assassin's Creed, so that's not an area we're interested in, but I'm really happy to have the Firefly patch. I now need to find a brown coat to put that on.
Yep.
Never ends. And the photography book is really cool. That's definitely a nice thing to just kind of have around. We don't have a coffee table, but if we did, it would be a coffee table book. As it is, it's going to be a, hey, look at this cool thing book.
Like I said, anything that you actually get a nice big hardback book in is pretty cool.
And the t-shirt is a t-shirt. So yeah, not a bad crate to start off the year with, or finish the year with, I suppose, technically. Here's to more loots in 2017. So until next month, my friends. Bye! Bye!